Hey guys, welcome back to another video where we are going to look at AgilePoint NX connector for GitHub. GitHub is a web-based Git repository hosting service for software development and version control. It offers the distributed version control and source code management functionality of Git. Let's look at this connector in action. So I'm in my demo environment right now, and I'm going to navigate to Manage Center to create my access token. Now again, access token is a connection to external systems, and I can create it both at global level within Manage Center, or I can create it at app level. So in order to create a GitHub access token, I'm going to navigate to GitHub. Under my profile, if I go to settings, if I scroll down, developer settings, OAuth apps, over here, you can create a new OAuth app, give it a name, a homepage URL. You can just use GitHub's own homepage URL for this, and then a callback URL. So if you go over here, say add token, search for GitHub. The callback URL is available right within the token. You can copy this and you can register your application. Now, while you register your application, you get a client ID and client secret. Using those client ID and client secret, what you can do is you can come back to Manage Center, enter the client ID, client secret, and then generate an OAuth2 token from here. Now, in case of GitHub, there is no expiration of this access token. They don't have a concept of expiration here. So it would continue to work. So you don't have to set up the renewal frequency. Now, once the access token is created, you can go to App Builder. I'm in my app builder right now, and I have a demo application over here. So I'm going to open it in edit mode. So if I look at my GitHub activity group over here, there are around 11 activities which are available, mainly to do with creating, updating, deleting a repository, or creating, deleting, updating, and getting an issue, and creating, updating, deleting the issue comments. So we are going to see some of them in action, and I'm going to show you configuration of each one of them. So I have a dummy process which is created over here to show how these activities work. So I'll be submitting a form to create a new repository. So my first activity is create repository. And the configuration is pretty straightforward. You select the GitHub access token from dropdown once it has been created. You drag and drop a form variable or a process variable which contains the name of the repository to be created. You can drag and drop from your schema. You can optionally give it a description. You can invite collaborators if you want. The only required field is repository. You can set up a visibility. In my case, I have set it up to private. And once this repository is created, what I'm saying is store the response in this variable, the generated repository name, and repository ID in this variable. The way it works in GitHub is that if you have given a user-friendly display name with spaces, it will trim all the spaces and give you an internal name, which I'm capturing over here. So that's create repository. Next, what happens is I'm going to open the form, update my repository name, description, visibility kind of things. And then I can call the next activity, which is update repository. Now for update repository, again, similar experience. I can connect to my GitHub. I can provide my original repository name. I can provide a new name for this repository. Again, these are all optional fields. Whatever field I'm going to map, only that will be updated. I can control the visibility. Now I can have a visibility hard-coded like public or private, or I can get it from a variable. In my case, I have just mapped it to a variable right now. So it comes from my user input, a description over here. Same way for repository. I could have hard-coded a repository from my dropdown, or I could have given a variable. I'm going to go with variables, which I'm going to enter through my forms. Now, once that is done, I'm going to read the information from the repository, that what is the repository URL, repository ID, some of those kind of things. So I have a get repository activity. I can connect to GitHub, provide the repository name, and then whatever is the response value, it gives me a whole lot of fields. On the left hand side, what you see is the GitHub response. On the right hand side is the AgilePoint process and form schema, and whichever nodes I'm interested in, I can map those. I'm going to display those results on a form. Next, I'm going to go with the issue flow. I'll create an issue using my form. And once it is done, I call the create issue make a create issue call into GitHub. I connect to GitHub using the access token, provide the repository in which the issue should be created, who should be the assignee of this issue, title, any labels I want to enter, description, and once the issue is created, I capture back the issue number in a variable. Next, I'm going to update the issue over here in a form, maybe the issue description or assignee. I can connect to GitHub, provide the repository. I can specify the issue number which needs to be updated. Remember, I captured it in the previous step. And then I can update title, assignee, state, milestone, labels, description. Again, I can either have it as a variable or I can hard code it over here as well, depending on my scenario. Next, I'm going to retrieve the issue, which is very similar to get repository. I can just connect to the issue repository issue number and then map whatever values I wanted back. So I'm going to skip that for now. Next, I'm going to have a form where I can enter some new comments on the issue. Again, very similar experience. You can go in and based on the issue number, enter a new comment and store the comment ID. And using that comment ID in subsequent steps, I'm going to update that issue and get that issue displayed. Now, once all of these are done, I'm going to have a cleanup logic over here. So I'm going to delete issue comment, for which I just need the comment ID. So I just get the repository mapped and the comment ID, which I captured in one of the previous steps. I will close the issue and finally I'll delete the repository. Configuration of these are pretty much same as the delete issue comment. It will just ask you for the repository and the ID. So I've published this application out and I'm going to show you how it works at runtime. I'm going to open a new form. I'm going to call it demo repository. As of right now, if you go back to my GitHub, you can see that there is no repository available at this point of time. It's all empty. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Now what we are going to do is I'm going to go to Work Center under tasks. You'll see there is a process which is running and I'm going to work off the process viewer instead of the task list so that you can follow along. So you can see that the create repository call has been made. So if I go back and refresh my GitHub, you can see that there is a new repository called demo repository created and it has removed all the spaces which I gave in the name. If I drill down, this is marked as private. Remember, I had set it up to be marked as private. So the first activity worked. Now I'm going to update it. I'm going to open the form. I'm going to now mark it as public. And the new repository name, I'm going to call it demo repository updated with all the spaces in here. And I'm going to give a description as well. Now, if I go back to GitHub, click refresh, you can see that the name got updated and now it has become public as per the settings. So I'll go back to process viewer. Now, next step, it did get repository to get repository information like repository URL, repository ID, and I'm going to show it on the form so that you can see that it actually worked. So you can see for this repository, I got in the repository ID, repository name, repository full name, owner, URL, description. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Next, I'm going to create a new issue. So that's it with the repository flow. Now we are going to enter the issue flow over here. So within this repository, I'm going to create a new issue. I'm going to enter my GitHub ID, which can be obtained from the profile. So it is available over here. So I'm going to enter the GitHub ID of the assignee, the title of the issue, certain labels, description, and click submit. If I go back to my GitHub over here, if I go to issues, now you can see the demo issue is created. It has the labels. If I drill down, it has the description as well. This is the demo issue. And it added the labels over here and assigned it to me. Now I'm going to update this particular issue from my process flow. I'm going to change the title demo issue updated. Assignee, I would still keep it as me. I'm going to add a new label. Keep it as open. Demo description updated. Now if I go back to GitHub, click refresh, you can see that the description has been updated. The title has been updated. Also, the new label has been applied. Okay, back to our process viewer. It got the issue description now, issue from the repository. If I open it on a form, you can get more information about the issue if you wanted based on the repository URL, ID, got the assignee, title, all displaying over here. Now, of course, I just decided to show certain attributes. There's a lot more attributes related to issue which are coming back, and you can show any one of those on the form. Next, we are going to move into adding new issue comments as part of the process flow. So I'm going to open a form. And I'm going to add a new comment to issue number 1. So once this is executed, if I click refresh, you can see a new comment got added over here. I'm going to now update the same comment. If there was an issue with that comment, I'm going to update it. I've just added the word updated over here. And if I go back to GitHub, you see that the comment got updated. Next, it went in and queried the comment, which I can show you on the form. Now, it could have been multiple comments, of course, as well. It supports repeating structure, but you can see that it did get comment information like at what time it was created and updated, what is the URL. It's all available. Now, next, we are going to start cleaning up. So I've submitted this. And it went in and deleted the comment. So if I go over here and refresh, the comment which I added as part of the flow has been deleted. So that's the delete comment. I have some timer activities over here added so that you can follow along. Once the timer is elapsed, you'll see that this issue has been marked as closed. So you'll see this issue is now marked as closed within GitHub. And finally, if I go back to GitHub, the repository has been deleted. So as we saw in the demo, a business process designed in AgilePoint can help manage lifecycle of a project in GitHub by creating and managing new repository for a new project, adding issues and comments to a project as part of QA process designed in AgilePoint. We will keep adding more features to GitHub connector as we hear more feedback from customers on what additional items they wish to see in the connector. Thanks a lot for your time.